7 o'clock. Shelby City Council meeting is called to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please. Roll call, please, Mr. Crum.
Mr. Rock. Mr. Roberts? Here. Mr. Cutlip?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin? Here.
For the record, we acknowledge that Councilman Bob had a medical procedure done this afternoon in the Columbus area. He was hoping it all would go through well and get it done in good time and get back here with the cooperation of traffic. That has not developed, so he is absent this evening. I'll now entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal from June 17, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin to dispense with the reading of the journal from June 17, 2024. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin? Yay. Mr. Roberts? Yay. Mr. Cutlip?
Yay.
Motion passes. Come to the time for public comment. If anyone has public comment they'd like to make before council, come to the podium, state your name and address, and make your public comment. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move forward to reports from standing special committees. Community and Economic Development Committee, Councilman Cutlip.
We did not meet.
We did not meet from the Community and Economic Development Committee last week. Public Works and General Operations Committee, of course, Councilman Rob is not here this evening. The Parking Committee under Councilman Roberts also did not meet, and we're in that discussion with legislation forthcoming. That will probably be those are actually the outcomes of the Parking Committee and several other discussions. So we'll see how that develops in the future. Reports of city officials. Yes.
If I may, it kind of piggybacks on this. So I'm going to ask the question, and I can let the finance director when it comes to his report. But the police chief had said he was going to put all the parking committee stuff into OneDrive, and we're waiting on getting the line items built out so we can actually pay for the OneDrive. It's already been appropriated, but we just need line items for that. So my question then would just be to kind of where are we at on that, so that we can get the documents uploaded to OneDrive so we can review that, because we're waiting on that. So that's kind of it's a process question, but one that needs asked.
Okay. Maybe when we come to Councilman, Mr. Crum, maybe they have something up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reports of city officials. A very full agenda this evening. Again, I am not going to deliver a full report or any kind of report. I just have the last couple of weeks been, of course, actively occupied with the duties of the mayor's office. But hopefully next meeting we'll have a more full report. But we've got a lot to do there this evening. Move forward then to Mr. Crum, and perhaps Mr. Crum maybe can give an answer to Councilman Martin in regard to that OneDrive purchase and so forth.
Certainly. First of all, the report is mainly the normal operations. We have a few pieces of legislation that I've been working on. That's in the administrative stuff. We can talk about that at the time. Income tax collections for the month were down slightly from the June prior year. I don't have the exact number on me, but nothing surprising, being that it's after tax time. We did report the estimates, but nothing unusual there. Audit is still progressing. I think whenever they get questions to us, we're getting answers to them pretty quick. So that is moving along. As far as access to the OneDrive, all of the normal computer support lines have those funds in them. I do not have the one for council. I can either use the miscellaneous line item this year, or we can even add it to the appropriations ordinance tonight if we wanted to do that. So I'll bring that up during that legislation.
All right. comments or questions from Mr. Cronin regarding his report? Hearing none, Mr. Gordon Ister, Law Director.
I'll keep it brief tonight too, Mayor, no report.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to Mr. Geis, Project Coordinator.
I'll try to be brief. As you know, Shelby Avenue water line, we did get our contracts from OPWC today. Those were executed, so the contract was sent to the contractor, so now we're all in the motion of that contractor getting the water line area done on Shelby Avenue, so our paving contractor can get through there, so we are moving along on that. Speaking of paving, you'll notice on Mickey Road, looks like a big patchwork, but that was strategic. We've got a good opportunity to get in there, fix some bad spots. That is definitely just a Band-Aid until the reconstruction project is done in 28. So if anyone asks you why it looks that way, what we're doing, that's the reason. So that wouldn't have lasted until 28, I believe. So that's what we were doing there. So and that's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Martin.
I just have a couple things. On the Mickey Road project, is there any way that we can get like a PowerPoint, just a one-pager on our projected timeline for Mickey Road that we can put out to the public? I get a lot of questions about it. And even stating, you know, the budgetary restraints, because we're going through a budget cycle that is not our own, right? So just kind of outlining that, but just in general, so that people are aware of what and I would even include what we did on that timeline, you know, because we are doing stuff actively there. It's not like we've forgotten it or anything like that. So if we could have that for our constituents, even post on social media and stuff, all of us, that would be wonderful if we could get that. Second question is the splash pad. So can we get an update on kind of where we're at on the splash pad? I'm also getting some questions on regards to that.
Mr. Geis, and I may have something to.
So when the splash pad was fired up, there was some issues with the water. It was draining away because it wasn't getting caught. A lot of things involved in that, the amount of water, that little area and so forth. So the contractor on their own went and put a trench drain all around it. So that was completed last week or so forth. So then we worked with our Parks Department for, what's today? Yeah, so, to try to get the chemicals in line and so forth. And so he's having some issues with the equipment that was installed. He could never work with it until we could actually run it. So he has a company coming Wednesday. There's our hope that everything's straightened out, we have our health department there, and it's running from then on. So,
Mr. Martin.
And then I know that we have on the fireplace, we have a thing where you can hit the button in the fireplace there. Is it similar to the splash pad? Or the splash pad would just be running nonstop during certain hours? How is that working?
Mr. Geis.
the way it's set up right now, it'll start at 10 a.m. and turn off at 10 p.m.
Okay.
The splash pad.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good information.
So, yeah, combination, like Mr. Geis saying, all those things, the chemical levels, the automatic controllers and everything coming together and trying to make sure we have it running seamlessly through the summer.
Well, and also bicycle days would be nice.
And bicycle days.
That's the first sure.
Yes, sir. Now come the last.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any comments or questions other than Mr. Martin's? Move forward then to new business. And as is our custom, this has always been Councilman Gates' delight and duty to read the Declaration of Independence, the meeting previous to our Independence Day celebration. And we have since handed off to our next most senior council member, Councilman Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. It is indeed an honor and a delight to be able to do this. It's one of the more unique customs I've seen in city councils, and Shelby should be proud that we do this every year. It's always a good reminder. The Declaration of Independence. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused to assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, proposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, in capable annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction of foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial for punishment for any murders that they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule in these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of the divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Thank you, Councilman Martin, for the magnificent document. And I hope in our celebrations we will honor the memory of these brave-hearted men who constructed it. All right, any other new business to be brought before council? Unfinished business, any unfinished business this evening? Well, then let's get right to legislation.
Ordinance number 9, 2024, proposing an amendment to Section 7 of the Charter of the City of Shelby and submitting such proposed amendment to the electors.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the third reading of ordinance number 9, 2024. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 9, 2024 passes its third reading.
Move for passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 9, 2024. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 9, 2024 passes.
Ordinance number 10, 2024, proposing an amendment to Section 24 of the Charter of the City of Shelby and submitting such proposed amendment to the electors.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the third reading of ordinance number 10, 2024. Discussion. Mr. Martin.
Thank you. On these, as we discussed it in the first reading, there's just some weirdness in the language, and so the proposed language that I have, it'll be the same for all these upcoming ordinances. In section 24, where it says following and the strikeout of his, instead of an election, in all caps would be there. THEIR. And so it would read, following their election, serve until a successor is elected and qualified.
Are you seeking unanimous consent, or is that a motion to amend? One thing, a second.
I would like unanimous consent, but for you to go through the rigmarole, we shall.
So in section 24, after the word following, instead of the all caps and election, it would be their election, THEIR. That is being requested by unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Hearing no objections, that will be so made. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 10, 2024, passes its third reading.
Move for passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 10, 2024. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 10, 2024 passes.
Ordinance number 11, 2024, proposing an amendment to section 31 of the charter of the city of Shelby and submitting such proposed amendment to the electors.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the third reading of ordinance number 11, 2024. Discussion. Mr. Martin.
Similar, and this would be in section 31, where it says, following, again, the strikeout of his, seeking unanimous consent to change that to their.
That is a request by unanimous consent to amend, striking out where it says his, it would be their, THEIR.
Well, it actually strike the,
The strikeout is his.
yeah, so it'd be,
Stricken.
we'd be replacing and with
And,
their.
Yes. Replacing and with their. That is request by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, it will be amended.
It's not a successor, saying their successor, right? It's not and.
No,
So I'm certain on what I'm modifying.
No, it's above, the line above there where it says following his an election.
Following their election.
Yes.
Following their election.
We're keeping a successor. A
Still a
successor.
successor.
A
Okay.
successor reads fine.
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood that, I'm sorry. I'm probably Councilmember, sorry.
Following their election.
Following their election.
That's right about the middle of that.
Got it.
Okay. All clear? No objections? It should be so amended. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 11, 2024 passes its third reading.
Move for passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 11, 2024. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 11, 2024 passes.
Ordinance number 12, 2024, proposing an amendment to section 36 of the charter of the city of Shelby and submitting such proposed amendment to the electors.
Move for third reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the third reading, ordinance number 12, 2024. Discussion? Mr. Martin?
And similarly, where it says section 36, about halfway down, the o'clock noon and the his right there being their election.
Right about in the middle of section 36, we have the request to amend this by unanimous consent instead of and be their election. following their election after the strikeout. Any objections? Hearing no objections, it will so be so amended. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin? Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 12, 2024 passes its third reading.
Move for passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 12, 2024. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Ordinance number 12, 2024 passes.
Ordinance number 13, 2024, proposing an amendment to section 53 of the charter of the city of Shelby and submitting such proposed amendment to the electors.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this third reading ordinance to 15 July meeting, city council, for two reasons: so that Councilman Rob may have a chance to vote, as well as allow the Board of Elections to obtain legal advice to give to us.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. McLaughlin and a second by Mr. Cutler to postpone the third reading of ordinance number 13, 2024 to the next meeting for the reasons so stated. Discussion? Mr. Martin?
Have we received any correspondence whatsoever from the Board of Election?
Mr. McLaughlin?
I talked with Matt Fenfield today and James Zimmerman. They have requested to obtain some legal opinion, but it has not come back to them at this point, so this will allow them some more time to receive that.
Mr. Cutler?
Mr. Ister, do you have anything on that?
I've not been asked for anything on that, so I have no.
Any further discussion? This is actually on the motion to postpone for the reasons so stated. Postpone to the next meeting. Mr. Martin?
I would be amiss if I didn't voice my complete disappointment, dissatisfaction, just put in the superlative there. But, I mean, the Board of Elections, they came to us and they've had ample time. They've been in talks with Columbus. I'm willing to give them yet additional time. But I do want it to be noted that this council has been very, very, very patient and deliberative with this legislation in their place, even though several of us on its face do not support this. So I'm willing to give them yet more time, but how does this affect getting this on the ballot? Because we had this lined up. How does that affect getting it actually on the ballot?
Passed by emergency.
Well,
Have to make an emergency clause, which will need 4, the same number to pass in either event. So we still need 4.
This is the third reading anyway, so. Well, of course, it'll take how many days after the vote?
right, so we have to,
Emergency measures will be attached by amendment if the council so desires. Any further discussion? This is on the motion to postpone. Motion to postpone, roll call, please, Mr. Crum.
Mr. Martin?
yeah.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
The motion to postpone to the next meeting passes.
Ordinance number 15, 2024, approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances, approving, adopting, and enacting new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinances, repealing ordinances in conflict therewith, and declaring an emergency.
Move that the rule requiring that ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions be suspended.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. McLaughlin that the rule requiring that an ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions be suspended. Discussion? Mr. Martin?
The reason for the emergency.
Mr. Crum?
Just to make the corrections immediately.
Mr. Martin?
That's fine, I just like to have it stated for the record why we're doing the emergencies.
Very good. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
The motion to suspend passes.
Move for passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of ordinance number 15, 2024. Discussion. Mr. Crum?
Most of this is just clerical, as we've been going through things, we've noticed things that we have passed that weren't in the records and vice versa. So it's just all housekeeping and such to keep us in compliance.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Let's see, that was very clever, Mr. Crum.
We'll get that order right,
I
yeah.
must say,
Sorry about
you
that.
don't have to do
You're on
another
top.
little exercise in this one too.
Yeah.
All right, well, in any event, ordinance number 15, 2024 passes.
Ordinance number 16, 2024. Amending ordinance number 5, 2024, annual appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Move that the rule requiring that an ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions be suspended.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin and a second by Mr. Roberts that the rule requiring that ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions be suspended. Discussion. Mr. Crum?
Once again, much like the last one, these are to fund projects immediately, and so it'd be nice to get this in place right away so we can spend appropriated funds.
Any further discussion? This is on the motion to suspend. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
The motion to suspend passes.
Move for the passage of the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin and a second by Mr. Roberts for the passage of ordinance number 16, 2024. Discussion. Mr. Crum?
Once again, this is mainly housekeeping. Actions, you'll see most of them are construction or engineering or that sort of thing, whereas we found that, hey, these projects have come up, we need to appropriate a little more money for them. We do have the funds, they were unappropriated at original appropriations, so we would like to increase these line items so that we can get these projects done. There is one potential amendment if council so chooses. We could add a line item for in the general fund for computer support for council so that we could add that OneDrive. And if council would like to do that, the account number is 101-CON-501. For computer support, I think $5,000 would be enough to cover that.
Mr. Crum?
Can you certify those funds?
Yes, I can also certify that there are funds available in the general fund for that additional amount. Thank you for asking.
Mr. Martin?
I'd like to make that motion as presented by Director of Finance, by unanimous consent.
I wonder, Mr. Councilman Martin, if you would so please, I think maybe this one would deserve a motion and a second, since we are dealing with funding, would that be appropriate? We have a second to that motion to amend. Mr. Roberts, I just the idea we're moving some funds around there, so. So we have a motion by Mr. Martin, and a second by Mr. Roberts to include $5,000 in this, in the line items for computer support for council. Discussion on the motion to amend. Mr. Martin.
Yeah, and we've already appropriated this. We talked about this during our appropriations, and we appropriated the amounts, it just didn't trickle to the right line items. So we're just make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion? This is on the motion to amend to add 5,000. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
That motion to amend passes. Back to the main motion. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Order number 16, 2024 passes.
Resolution number 27, 2024, authorizing the mayor as Director of Public Service to enter into an agreement with the Community Improvement Corporation of Shelby, Ohio, CIC, for an economic development manager and declaring an emergency.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. McLaughlin for the passage of resolution number 27, 2024. Discussion? Mr. Martin.
My only question is one timing. So the funds, how does this affect funding the actual position? I guess the question is, does the timing actually matter? Because the previous agreement ended, May 21st? And the current agreement that we're putting into effect doesn't start until, June 15th? And so do we need to move the commencement date of this agreement closer to the termination of the previous agreement?
Mr. Geis.
I don't know where the main, but I'm pretty sure the agreement ended right on the June 15th date. We talked with the law director, and he was stating that if council passes that, it basically just would go back to retroactive, because that's what the agreement said, and I'll let him.
I think we passed this May 21st, but it's on the original contract until June of 18. That's just retro to back, so it's not a gap.
Mr. Martin.
Yeah, that was my question, because I see that we're already making this retroactive, and might as well make it retroactive to the right dates. But if everyone's confident those are the right dates, then
All right.
by all means, I don't want to stand in the way of progress.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ms. Martin.
This has worked very well for the city. This arrangement has worked very well, and I believe it's fundamentally worked very well because they hired the right person. Scriven's amazing job, continues to do such an amazing job. Pleased to be able to continue. This is definitely a better arrangement than we've had to do economic development in previous years before this arrangement. So,
100%.
Yeah, she does a wonderful job.
Very good. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
yay?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Resolution number 27, 2024 passes.
Resolution number 28, 2024, authorizing the mayor as Director of Public Service to enter into a project modification request with Richland Engineering Limited for the Shelby Streetscape project in the amount of $43,255 as an increase in declaring an emergency. Move the resolution be taken up and passed.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. McLaughlin for the passage of resolution number 28, 2024. Discussion? Mr. Geis.
This has come about for the streetscape project. There was a number of delays and so forth, and the engineering firm who was doing the construction administration is requesting these extra funds. 90% of this is paid for by through federal highway, and the 10% is for the city. We still have monies left for OPWC to do that 10%, so I think it's all taken care of.
Mr. Martin.
Can we just get a quick synopsis of the additional work, like what was the actual, and the reason I asked is I was trying to figure out by the documentation we got, my lay eyes couldn't make heads or tails of it, so.
Mr. Geis.
There was a number of things, delays because of materials, delays because of when the project started and then trying to get it through the winter and so forth. So this firm had to do more days to complete what they normally would have. So that's basically the whole crux of it. So there's still some closeout things that have to be done yet, and we want to get this closed out and moved on. So.
Mr. Cutler.
Just out of curiosity, did the contractor go over the days that they were allotted, like over the time? Just typically our contracts state that they have to pay a certain amount every day, but they go over, don't they?
Mr. Geis.
They applied for and received an extension
Okay.
to the contract.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay?
Mr. McLaughlin? Mr. Roberts? Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Resolution number 28, 2024 passes.
Resolution number 29, 2024, adopting an annual revenue budget for the year 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of resolution number 29, 2024. Discussion. Mr. Carl.
Thank you, sir. This is sort of our first step in 2025 everything, financial-wise. We have to send essentially our estimates of the amount of money that we'll make over to the county, and then they'll look it over, send it back to us, and then do another piece of legislation to accept that. And then as the year closes, we'll do a more formal, okay, yes, this is exactly where we're starting, once we have a year in balance and everything. So this really is just the first step to kind of make us wrap our minds around the revenue side of things, how much money we're going to bring in for the year. It is definitely estimates, mainly based on the historic, the last few years of revenue. I went, line by line to figure out where, what I think we should get. And then we adjusted it for, if we think that money's going to come in here, or we had a project that we got revenue from that has dried up, we reduced it a little bit. So it can be edited as and will be edited as time goes on. This is the beginning of it. I did give a draft over, send a draft over to the county and say, hey, does anything look extremely wrong to you? And they couldn't find anything wrong. So I'm confident with these numbers as a starting place.
Mr. Martin.
The favorite part of these for me is always page 2, where we get to see what our funding is for the levies that we pass. I did have a question there. Let's see. Right underneath that, it says that these levies will expire after this tax budget. It doesn't list any of them, and I believe we have 2 that expire after this tax budget. And then the other one is that does the fire levy that we passed last year not have to be included on
Mr. Crum.
Both very good questions. The fire levy, no, does not have to be included on this because this is just the county auditor's property what they're assessing on property. So that, the county doesn't really look into too hard. As far as the two tax levies, sorry, your copy is not highlighted. On my copy, they did highlight the top health fund and the bottom park fund, and that they say they end tax year 2024, so that would be collection year 2025. So we have everything going on about it, to make sure there's no gap in that.
Got it, so it's a highlighted thing versus, and so then our income tax levies, as they were, aren't reflected here, so property tax levies. Which I guess that would make sense why the sidewalk fund. All right, wonderful, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Mr. Roberts?
Yay.
Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Resolution number 29, 2024 passes.
Resolution number 30, 2024, authorizing the mayor as director of public safety to accept the material terms of the new national opioid settlements pursuant to the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding and consistent with the terms of the March 22nd, 2024 new national opioid settlements agreement and declaring an emergency.
Resolution be taken up fast.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Roberts and a second by Mr. Martin for the passage of resolution number 30, 2024. Discussion.
Oh.
Mr. Martin.
I did have just a question. The Supreme Court rejected some settlements coming out of this. Does that have any bearing on this at all? Or?
Mr. Crowe.
As far as I know, that does not. This is a new lawsuit. It's actually the third one we've had now. The prior two, our amounts that we've received have not changed. I have not received anything from the organization saying, hey, you need to give it one back or anything like that, or even stating that they are going to change, but I will definitely keep, I'll be very vigilant of that, and I'll let you know if that happens. I can give you a brief overview of what this is if you'd like as well.
Yes, if you would, please.
This, like I said, this is actually the third one of these. Essentially, it's basically like a class action lawsuit, whereas 3 years ago now, the first one came out and going back on the drug companies saying, hey, you guys let all of these opioids out into, you let them be prescribed too easily. A lot of people got addicted to drugs. Now we have a serious problem. And so the first one was a variety of drug manufacturers, I believe. And the second one was a pharmacy. This one is specifically Kroger pharmacies. It doesn't bring a lot of money into us. We get probably a couple $1,000s a year, maybe up to $5,000 a year from them. But for our benefit, for our purposes, they actually work out fairly well. We're allocating these funds into our DARE program, which prior to them really didn't have a revenue stream short of us asking for donations. And so it has given us the power to really get into the schools and make use of that program and hopefully alleviate this issue in the future.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yay.
Mr. Roberts? Yeah. Mr. Cutler?
Yay.
Resolution number 30, 2024 passes. Now comes time for miscellaneous business. Is there any miscellaneous business to be brought before council this evening? Mr. Martin.
I'll be going out of town for the next week, so I will not be here for the safety committee. Apologies. And I'll be available to reach by email and such like that. Then, of course, like putting a plug in for my favorite event of the year, bicycle race. So, with all the new stuff we have downtown and the lights where they are and everything like that, it's really shaping up to be a spectacular bicycle days, and looking forward to celebrating with my fellow Shelbyans.
Thank you.
Wood splash pad,
That's right.
For sure.
We'll just hook up a sprinkler out there. There's that, the fire nozzle right there, we'll just hook up a sprinkler in there, it'll be fine. Like the good old days.
Mr. Roberts.
Sorry, you're gonna say the Nathan's
I didn't quite catch that. Maybe it wasn't worth catching.
It's okay.
Any further worthwhile miscellaneous business? Mr. Martin?
Mayor and council adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin, a second by Mr. McLaughlin for adjournment. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yay.
Mr. McLaughlin? Yay. Mr. Roberts? Yay. Mr. Cutler?
Yes.
Council adjourns at 7:51. Thank you, gentlemen.